Before we begin, take a moment to check your surroundings. Turn off unnecessary lights. If there is a mirror nearby, do not look directly into it. Reflections are supposed to show what is already there, but sometimes they show what is waiting. In 2020, I lived alone in a studio apartment on the 4th floor of an old building. Cheap rent, thin walls. One bathroom mirror mounted directly across from my bed. I worked late hours and slept irregularly. Most nights, I was awake well past midnight. One night around 2:40 a.m., I rolled over in bed and glanced at the mirror. My reflection was already looking at me. That should not have been strange, except I had not moved yet. I raised my hand. My reflection raised its hand a second later. The delay was subtle, almost unnoticeable, but once I saw it, I could not unsee it. I sat up. The reflection sat up slower. I leaned closer to the mirror. My reflection did not lean forward at all. It smiled. I did not. The light flickered. I looked away and counted to 10. When I looked back, the mirror showed an empty room. No bed, no me. Just the bathroom behind it. Dark and unfamiliar. I slept with the mirror covered after that. Weeks later, the landlord replaced it during maintenance. He asked why I had cracked it. I never touched the glass. After the mirror was replaced, the room felt wrong. Not haunted, not cold, just slightly misaligned, like furniture shifted a fraction of an inch when I was not looking. Sounds echoed longer than they should. My footsteps felt delayed, as if the floor responded after I moved. At night, I sometimes caught my shadow lagging behind me on the wall, stretching a moment too long before snapping back into place. I stopped uncovering the mirror entirely. Even covered, I felt watched. The air around it felt denser, heavier, like standing too close to a large window at night. I started having dreams where I stood in the bathroom staring at my reflection, except in the dream, the reflection was asleep, and I was the one trapped in the glass, pounding silently from the other side. I began searching online for mirror horror stories, reflection glitches, true scary stories about delayed reflections, and uncanny mirror encounters. The stories were disturbingly consistent. People described reflections blinking out of sync, smiling without permission, or continuing to move after the person turned away. Many mentioned mirrors mounted directly facing beds. Many mentioned activity starting after midnight. One forum post described something called reflection latency, not a medical term, a pattern. According to the post, reflections sometimes fall behind when something else is using them, like a buffer, like a screen showing pre-recorded footage. The author claimed mirrors do not always show the present. Sometimes they show what was there last. That night, I woke up to the sound of breathing. It was not coming from the room. It was coming from the mirror. I froze under the covers, staring at the towel draped over the glass. The fabric moved slightly, as if pushed from behind. Slowly, carefully. I held my breath. The breathing continued, syncing itself with mine, adjusting until it matched my rhythm exactly. I reached for my phone to turn on the flashlight. As the light hit the towel, it fell to the floor on its own. The mirror was uncovered. My reflection stood there, already awake, already staring, eyes wide and unblinking. It lifted its hand and pressed its palm flat against the glass. The glass pressed back. I stumbled backward and hit the wall. The reflection did not move. It just watched. Then its mouth opened slightly, and it whispered something I could not hear. The mirror fogged from the inside, forming fingerprints that were not mine. The next morning, the mirror was cracked straight down the center, a perfect vertical line. The landlord claimed it was stress damage. He replaced it again. I asked him if previous tenants had complained about mirrors. He avoided eye contact and said only one thing. They usually ask to have them removed. I moved out the next week. Even now, years later, I avoid mirrors at night. I do not keep reflective surfaces facing my bed. I turn bathroom lights off before entering. Sometimes, when I catch my reflection in a dark window, it feels like it recognizes me, like it remembers something I do not. Because I learned something living in that apartment. Reflections are not instant, they are not passive. And if yours ever blinks late, it is because something else is still looking out from inside the glass. In 2022, I installed security cameras around my house. Motion activated, cloud storage, live feed on my phone. One camera faced my backyard, another faced the side gate. The last one pointed toward my back door. I lived alone. Quiet neighborhood. Nothing had ever happened. One night, I received a motion alert at 1:12 a.m. Backdoor camera. The feed loaded. It showed my living room. That was not where the camera was aimed. The angle was wrong. Too low, like it was placed inside the room. I saw my couch, my coffee table, and myself asleep on the couch. The timestamp was live. The camera moved, slowly, carefully, as if someone was holding it. I watched the feed pan toward the hallway, toward the bedroom. I shut the app. When I checked the footage in the morning, there was nothing saved, except one still frame. The camera was pointed directly at the couch. Empty. I told myself it was a software error, cloud lag, firmware glitch. These systems were not perfect. Still, I checked the physical camera outside. It had not moved. The mount was tight, the angle unchanged. There was no way it could have captured footage from inside the house. That night, I left every light on. I slept in my bedroom instead of the couch. At 1:12 a.m., exactly, my phone vibrated again. Motion detected. Same camera, same alert. I did not open the feed. Instead, I listened. The house was silent. No footsteps. No doors. No movement. But the alert kept repeating, over and over, as if something was pacing in front of the lens. When I finally forced myself to open the app, the feed showed my hallway. Not from above, from eye level. The camera was moving again, drifting forward inch by inch. The image quality degraded, pixels smearing at the edges, like the system was struggling to understand what it was seeing. The camera stopped in front of my bedroom door. The feed froze, then refreshed. Now it showed me standing in the hallway, staring back at the camera. I was in bed. I dropped the phone. The alert stopped. In the morning, I checked the logs. The system recorded multiple hours of footage that did not exist. File names without thumbnails. Durations are listed as 0 seconds. One clip was labeled interior source, even though no camera was installed inside. I contacted the manufacturer. They insisted it was impossible. No indoor access, no remote control of pan functions, no internal cameras registered to my account. They suggested resetting the system. I did. The next night, the alert came earlier. 12:47 a.m. This time, the feed showed my front door, from inside the house. The camera angle rose slowly, like something standing up. I could see the reflection of the lens in the glass, and behind it, a shape where I should have been. The feed cut out on its own. After that, I noticed small things, objects slightly out of place. the couch cushion compressed when no one sat there. The TV turned on at night without sound. The cameras never triggered motion when I walked past them during the day. I started researching online. True security camera horror stories, surveillance glitches, home monitoring nightmares. Stories where cameras showed footage from inside homes that they were meant to protect. One post mentioned a pattern. The camera never faces the intruder, it faces the resident. The system is not watching the outside, it is learning the inside. That night, I unplugged the entire system. At 1:12 a.m., my phone buzzed anyway. Motion detected. No cameras connected. I moved out 2 weeks later. The new owners contacted me months afterward. They asked if I had ever installed indoor cameras. They said their security app kept suggesting new camera placement inside the living room, facing the couch. I do not use security cameras anymore because I learned something watching those feeds. Not everything that watches you is trying to protect you. Some systems are not looking for intruders. They are checking if you are still home. I worked late shifts in an office building downtown. 30 floors, old elevators with mirrored walls that made the space feel tighter than it was. Most nights, I was alone by the time I left. Cleaning crews finished early. Security stayed in the lobby. One night after midnight, I stepped into the elevator to go down. I checked my reflection out of habit. It was smiling. My mouth was not. The elevator stopped between floors. The lights dimmed, not off, just low enough to soften the edges of everything. In the mirror, my reflection turned its head. Slowly, as if listening. I heard breathing behind me. Not loud, not rushed, close enough to feel warm. I did not turn around. The reflection raised a finger to its lips. The elevator dropped suddenly. When the doors opened, I was in the lobby. Bright lights, normal sounds. The mirror showed no reflection at all. The next day, maintenance removed that elevator from service. They said the camera footage showed 2 people inside. Only one walked out. That should have been the end of it. It was not. The following week, I was assigned late shifts again. The remaining elevators felt wrong. Too quiet, too smooth. I started avoiding mirrors entirely, staring at the floor numbers instead. Still, every time I passed the closed shaft of the removed elevator, I felt a pressure behind my eyes, like something watching through metal and cables. One night, I caught my reflection in the stainless steel doors of another elevator. It lagged, just a fraction. Enough to notice. Enough to make my stomach twist. When the doors opened, I did not step inside. They closed on their own a moment later, as if disappointed. I started researching elevator horror stories, liminal elevator encounters, haunted office buildings, and forbidden floors. I found dozens of accounts describing mirrored elevators behaving incorrectly after midnight, reflections that gestured independently, breathing heard in empty cars. Elevators are stopping between floors longer than they should. One post described something called mirror desync. It, not a technical failure, a timing error. According to the writer, mirrors in elevators do not always reflect the present. Sometimes they reflect the last complete occupant. Sometimes they reflect the next one. The next time I rode an elevator, it happened again. The reflection smiled before I did. This time, the elevator did not stop. It continued descending, floor numbers skipping. 23, 19, 14. Then nothing. The display went blank. In the mirror, my reflection stepped forward. I did not. The reflection turned fully toward me. Its smile widened. Its eyes did not blink. I could see fingerprints forming on the inside of the glass, pressing outward, distorting the surface like thin ice. Behind me, the breathing grew louder. The elevator stopped. The doors did not open. The reflection leaned closer, mouth moving without sound. I felt a pressure in my chest, like something urging me to step closer to the mirror to line myself up properly. Then the doors opened suddenly. Lobby, I ran. Security found me shaking near the exit. They asked if I had been alone. I told them yes. They exchanged a look I did not like. One of them admitted that late-night footage often showed elevators arriving with an extra shadow inside. The shadow never exited. I quit that job 2 days later. Months passed. I avoided elevators whenever possible. Stairs, escalators, anything without mirrors. Still, sometimes, when elevator doors close across from me in other buildings, I see it. A reflection that stays behind a moment too long. A smile that does not belong to me. Because I learned something working in that building. Elevators do not just move between floors. They move between moments. And mirrors inside them do not always show who is riding. Sometimes they show who almost did. And sometimes they are still waiting for you to step back in. If a reflection moves when you do not, look away. If a camera shows you from inside your own home, leave. If a mirror shows something you did not do not correct it. Because reflections are not copies. They are invitations. And once something learns how you move, it no longer needs you to be there.